Hi children, today I am going to start a new lesson, Social and Religious Reform Movements. The title of the lesson is Social and Religious Reform Movements. Whenever social evils like caste system, child marriages or dowry, etc. prevail in the society, or the religious orthodoxy increases among certain religious communities, a need arises to introduce some changes in the society, in some practices in the society or religious practices. A need arises to introduce some changes in the society or some changes in the religious practices which are prevailing in the society. And these are known as social and religious reform movements. For example, Bhakti movement was led by Bhakti saints. And these Bhakti saints, they criticized orthodoxy among both the Hindus and Muslims, because at that time the orthodox feelings were increasing among the Hindus and the Muslims. So the Bhakti movement was started. And they preached, these Bhakti saints, they preached oneness of God. They said that there is only one God and equality of all the human beings. These Bhakti saints, they also preached about the equality of all the human beings. And these ideas were further strengthened in 18th and 19th centuries by social and religious reformers. And in this lesson, we are going to learn about some of such social and religious reformers and what are the changes brought by them and how they struggled to bring changes in the society and religious practices. That we are going to learn in the lesson. Now, Christian missionaries and Oriental scholars. During the British rule, along with European companies, many Christian missionaries came to India to preach Christianity in India. And their main objective was spread of Christianity. To spread Christianity all over the world. These Christian missionaries, they went to each and every part of the world. And these missionaries severely criticized the then existing religious practices and also the blind beliefs which were prevailing in the society at that time. And these missionaries tried to persuade people to adopt Christianity. They encouraged the people to adopt Christianity. That means to get converted to Christianity. And they also established many educational institutions, hospitals to serve the poor and the needy. And through this, many new ideas were spread among the people. And very soon, a debate arose between these Christian missionaries and the leaders of Hinduism and the leaders of Islam. These were the two major religions at that time, Hinduism and Islam. And between the leaders of Hinduism, leaders of Islam, and these Christian missionaries, some debate arose. And these leaders of Hinduism and Islam, they were trying to defend their own religious ideas. And such debates helped the people not only to understand each other's ideas. These debates which were going on between the Christian missionaries and the leaders of Hinduism and Islam, they helped many people to understand each other's ideas. And also, they could inquire into the original and basic teachings of their own religions. They could know what are the basic teachings of their own religions. With the help of these debates, the people could know what are the original teachings of their own religions. And several European scholars, they studied the ancient literature of India. Like William Jones, Max Muller, you can see the photos here. These scholars, they studied the ancient literature of India and they translated this literature into their languages and published them as books. And since these European scholars, they studied books of the Eastern countries, they were called as Orientalists. People who study the literature of Eastern countries, they are called as Orientalists. So these people, like William Jones, Max Muller, they were called as Orientalists. Now these books are available for all the people to read. And as the ancient Sanskrit, Tamil, Telugu, Persian and Arabic books were translated into European languages. When all these European scholars, they started studying ancient literature, they translated these into many other languages like Sanskrit books, Tamil books, Telugu, Persian and Arabic books, they were translated into European languages and they were made easy for the Europeans to read. And the rich and the diverse cultural heritage of our country was recognized by all the people, those who read these books. And this enabled the people with new ideas to reinterpret their own religions better. Because these ideas were made known to all the people by translating the books into European languages, these enabled the people to come up with new ideas to reinterpret their own religions in a better way. The Europeans introduced printing press in India. As you know, it was Gutenberg of Germany who introduced printing press in India, and it made possible the appearance of many newspapers and magazines. And as a result of this printing press, many magazines and newspapers, they came into existence. They were introduced, and books were also published in large number in different languages. They were published so that they could reach large number of people. People also could read these books, and this made books accessible to a large number of people at a very low cost. They could get these books, and they could read also. And people could now carry on debates and discussions through these newspapers. Through these newspapers and magazines, people could carry out their debates and discussions, if any, on religious matters or any other matters. They could carry on their discussions and debates through these newspapers and magazines. And these books were made easily accessible to the large number of people. Now, Brahma Samaj and religious movements of Bengal. Raja Ram Mohan Rai, he was born in Bengal in 1772, and he was a great scholar in many languages like Sanskrit, Persian, English. In all these languages, he was a great scholar, and he also knew languages like Arabic, Latin, Greek languages also he knew. He was a great scholar, and he also studied several religious philosophies like Hinduism, Islam, Christianity and Sufism. He learned about all these philosophies, and after studying various religious books, he came to a conclusion that there is only one God and he is the supreme power. There is only one God. There are no number of gods and goddesses. There is only one God, and that worshipping of idols and making sacrifices was not correct. After studying many of the religious books, he came to a conclusion. He was convinced that there is only one God and he is the supreme God. And he opposed idol worship and also making sacrifices. These two were not correct in his opinion. And he was convinced that all the great religions had the same common beliefs. Most of the religions in the world, they had the same common beliefs. And so it was not correct to criticize any other religion. We are following our own religion because we believe in it. So we should not criticize the other religions. And he also believed that we should accept a religious belief only if it is beneficial to the people. Only the religious beliefs, if they help the people, if they are beneficial to the people, we should follow that religion. We should accept that religious belief. And he rejected the authority of priests and he asked the people to study the original books of their religions, to know the original teachings of their religious textbooks. And he published his ideas in magazines and books also using the technology of printing. Using this printing technology, he published his ideas in magazines and books so that it could reach large number of people. And in 1828, Ram Mohan Rai founded the Brahma Samaj. Brahma Samaj, it was an assembly of all those people who believed in an universal religion based on the principle of one supreme God. That means all the people who believed in one supreme God, they were assembled together to form Brahma Samaj. In 1828, Ram Mohan Rai founded the Brahma Samaj, and it was an assembly of all those who believed in the principle of one supreme God. And after the death of Ram Mohan Rai in 1833, the Brahma movement was led by Devendranath Tagore and Keshav Chandra Sen. These two people, they led the Brahma Samaj movement further after his death. And they popularized their ideas by giving lectures all over India. They gave lectures all over India and they popularized their ideas throughout the country. Now Keshav Sen, he toured all over Maharashtra and he founded Prarthana Samaj in Bombay in 1867. And this Pradhana Samaj was started by R.G. Bhandarkar, a famous scholar, and M.G. Ranade with the ideas which were similar to Brahma Samaj. This Pradhana Samaj also was having ideas similar to Brahma Samaj. And Keshav Chandra Sen has also a major influence upon Kandukuri Veeresh. You might have heard the name of Kandukuri Veeresh. He is a great reformer in South India. He led the social and religious reform movements in South India. He was the person who started it. And he was greatly influenced by Keshav Chandra Sen. And however, after some time, differences of opinion started to take place among the members of the Brahma Samaj. It is quite natural. When there are many members, there will be differences of opinion. And when these differences started taking place among the members of the Brahma Samaj, they broke into smaller organizations because they started quarreling with each other very often. So they broke up into smaller organization. And Keshav Sen, he became a disciple of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. You might have heard of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He was Vivekananda's guru. And Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's disciple was Swami Vivekananda. And this Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he preached devotion to Goddess Kali. He himself was a devotee of Goddess Kali and he preached devotion to Goddess Kali. And Keshav Sen, he became a disciple of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Now, Swami Vivekananda, he was a disciple of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and he set up the Ramakrishna mission. And many of you, if you have visited Vizag, you can see this Ramakrishna mission on the beach road. With two objectives, Ramakrishna mission was set up by Swami Vivekananda. First of all, he wanted to introduce some reforms in Hinduism. In Hindu religion, he wanted to introduce some reforms and then to revive this reformed Hindu religion. That was the main objective of setting up Ramakrishna mission. And also to carry out some social work and social service for reconstructing the nation on the basis of these ideas. He wanted to revive the Hindu religion and then he wanted to reconstruct the nation based on the ideas of social work and social service. And he believed that Hindu religion was superior to all the other religions. And he emphasized the teachings of Upanishads. He gave more importance to the teachings of Upanishads, and these Upanishads, they were being translated and printed in large numbers so that they could reach the large number of people. And at the same time, he wanted Hindu religion to get rid of ritualism, superstitions. At that time, many rituals were being performed by the Hindus in the name of traditions and superstitions. And so he wanted Hindu religion to get rid of these rituals, unnecessary rituals and superstitions. Superstitions means blind beliefs. And he also wanted Hinduism to adopt some of the positive qualities of European culture. What are those positive qualities of European culture? Freedom and respect for women. We can see among Europeans, they give equal freedom and respect for women. So like that, he wanted that among the Hindus also, equal freedom and respect must be given for women. And also, technology must be developed. And he wanted the Ramakrishna mission to set up hospitals, schools, orphanages, and also work to bring relief in times of floods and famines. Whenever there are floods and famines during such natural disasters, to bring some relief to the victims. Arya Samaj in Punjab. Swami Dayananda Saraswati, he was the founder of this Arya Samaj. He was born in 1824. He was a social reformer and he rejected the orthodox ritualistic Hinduism. He opposed the rituals which were being carried out in Hinduism and he became a wandering sannyasi. Propagating his ideas, he became a wandering sannyasi. He studied the Vedas and he was convinced that they contained the true religion. For him, Vedas are the true religion and he rejected all other additions to Hindu religion. He believed that only the Vedas contained the true religion and he rejected all other latter additions to Hindu religion like many gods, goddesses, idol worship, temple worship, all these were rejected by him. And he also rejected Brahmanic priesthood and caste system. These were also rejected by him. And he advocated worshipping one supreme God through simple rituals and recitation of Vedic mantras. He advocated that worshipping only one God, that is the supreme God, and that too through simple rituals, and by reciting Vedic mantras, we should worship only one supreme God. And he rejected all the other religions as false religions and wanted Hindus who got converted to other religions, they should return to Hinduism again based on Vedas. And he gave a slogan also, go back to Vedas. This was famous slogan given by Dayanand Saraswati. He set up Arya Samaj in 1875 to preach his ideas, and he also wrote a book, Satyartha Prakash, which was printed in large numbers and it was read widely by the educated people. And after his death in 1883, his followers in Punjab, they set up Dayanand Anglo-Vedic School to educate children in modern subjects and at the same time keep them in touch with their religion. They must be in touch with their religion and at the same time they should study modern subjects also. So, some years later, there were differences within the Arya Samaj movement also again, and some people felt that they should only focus on teaching Vedic religion and not modern subjects, and they should oppose the influence of other religions. And those people who believed like this, they set up Gurukul Kangri University in Haridwar. Those who felt that only they should focus on Vedic religion and not modern subjects, they set up Gurukul Kangri University in Haridwar. Reform and education among Muslims. Just like reformers among the Hindus, they struggled against orthodox practices which were prevailing in the society. In the same way, the reformers among the Muslims also, the Muslim reformers also faced the same problem. They also had to struggle against their orthodox religious practices. Among Muslims also there were many orthodox religious practices, and among Hindus also there were many orthodox religious practices. So both the reformers among the Hindus and the Muslims also, they struggled against these religious practices. And the suppression of the revolt of 1857, it is the first struggle for independence, Sipahi Mutiny. And when it was suppressed by the Britishers, it created a lot of bitterness between the Muslims and the British. And most of the Maulvis, they were opposed to English education, as they felt that the teachings of modern science and philosophy were contrary to Islamic tenets. Most of the Maulvis, they felt that the teachings of modern science and philosophy, they were against Islamic teachings. So they opposed them. And however, many Muslims like Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, they were convinced that the bitterness between the Muslims and the British must come to an end. It must be put to an end. And in order to progress, Muslims should participate in government, and they get larger share in government jobs. If they participate in government and get larger share in government jobs, then only they can, this bitterness between the Muslims and the British will come to an end. And this was possible only through modern education. He wanted that the bitterness between the Muslims and the Hindus should come to an end, and this was possible only through modern education. And modern education, why some of the Muslims were against it? Because it was against, they felt that it was against the teachings of Islam. And Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, he tried to modernize Muslim community, and he propagated his ideas through his writings in journals. He wrote many articles in journals, and through his writings in journals, he propagated his ideas, saying that modern education is necessary. He wanted to modernize the Muslim community. And Sir Syed started the Aligarh movement for the spread of modern education. He wanted to spread the modern education among the Muslims, and for that he started Aligarh movement. And he also wanted to introduce some social reforms among the Muslims. And he was in favor of education of women. He always supported women education, and he also wanted that the Parda system must be put to an end among the Muslims. That means the Parda system must be abolished among the Muslims. You know what is Parda system? The Muslim ladies, they cover their face with Parda. That is called Parda system, and it even today it is prevalent among some of the Muslim communities. And he wanted to interpret Islam and bridge the gap, cover the gap between the religion, modern science and philosophy. Because some of the people, Muslims, they felt that the modern science and philosophy, they were against the teachings of Islam. So he wanted to interpret Islam in a new way and bridge the gap between the religion, modern science and philosophy so that the Muslims also can have modern education. And in 1864, Sir Syed promoted a scientific society which translated many of the scientific works into Urdu and published them. And his greatest achievement was establishing Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College at Aligarh in 1875. Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College was established by him. And in this college, English and science were also taught, but in an Islamic atmosphere they were taught. But in course of time, this became the most important educational institution for Indian Muslims. And it later developed into the Aligarh Muslim University. Social reforms and women. Nowadays, we can see most of the girls from the middle class families, they are going to schools because previously it was not allowed for the women to get education. But nowadays we can see most of the girls from middle classes also, they are going to school and they are often studying in co-education schools and colleges. They are studying along with the boys. That is they are getting co-education. They are after growing up also they are going to colleges and universities where also they have co-education. Along with the boys they are studying and they are taking up many jobs. All varieties of jobs they are taking up and they are free to pursue in different kinds of careers. They can take up any occupation for their survival and they can travel to distant places also and they can take up any work or occupation for their source of livelihood. And according to law, if they are adults, they can marry anyone they like, irrespective of the caste, creed or religion. They can marry anyone they like from any caste and community or not. If they don't want to marry, they can remain unmarried also, and widows can remarry too. If widows want to marry again, they can remarry again. And all women, like all men, can vote and stand for elections. That equality is also now we can see. All the women are given equal rights along with men. They have the right to vote and they can stand and they can contest in the elections and they can take part in public life. They can take part in the governance and they can take part in the public life also. And even though women still face discrimination, they can fight against them and assert their rights. Even though women still face discriminations in many areas, some discrimination, some or the other discrimination we can see even today. And in such a case, if there is any discrimination being shown against women, they can fight against them and assert their rights because they have equal rights along with men. Now 200 years ago, things were very different. Most children, they were married off at an early age, child marriages. At the age of 5 or 6 years, they were getting married. They were forced by the parents to get married. Both Hindu and Muslim men could marry more than one wife. Marrying more than one wife means that is polygamy. And in some parts of the country, upper caste women were burnt along with the bodies of their dead husbands. It is called sati. You might be knowing about this. And this was called sati. And the life of a widow who did not commit sati, who refused to be burnt along with the body of her dead husband, it was one of the most hardships, ill treatments, because people felt that such women are inauspicious and they are unprotected. So many restrictions were imposed on their lifestyles, and women's rights to property were also restricted. And besides, most women had no access to education. They were not given any access to education. Though they wanted to get education, they were not allowed. And in many parts of the country, people believed that if a woman was educated, she would not be under the control of her husband or in-law. That was the main reason why she was not allowed to get education. Once a woman gets educated, she will have an ideas of freedom. She will be financially free. She will have financial independence. And she will be having ideas of freedom. That means she will not be under the control of her husband or in-laws. That was the main motive behind restricting her education. And this was not the same among all the communities. Such treatment was more common in upper caste and powerful communities. Only among the upper caste and powerful communities only such feelings could be seen, not in tribal societies or labor communities. A minimum age of marriage. In 1846, a law was passed to disallow marriage of girls below 10 years. That means girls below 10 years cannot be married to anyone. And in 1891, this age was raised to 12 years. And in 1921, through Sharda Act, it was an important act, the minimum age for marriage for girls was raised to 14 years. And the limit was raised in 1978 to 18 years for girls and 21 years for boys. This is the present age for marriage. 1978, the limit was raised to 18 years for girls and 21 years for boys. Because after that is they become adults and they are free to marry. And reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Rai, they wrote about the way women were forced to bear the burden of domestic work. Always they were confined to domestic work. They were made to do the domestic work. They were not allowed to come outside or take part in any public activities. They were confined to home and the kitchen and not allowed to move out and get educated. And he began a campaign against the practice of sati also. Raja Ram Mohan Rai, who was a social reformer, because in those days sati was prevalent in the society. Already we have discussed what is sati. And he started a campaign against this practice of sati. And he tried to show that the practice of widow burning had no sanction in ancient texts. Nowhere in Vedas or in ancient books it was not mentioned. And by the early 19th century, many British officials also they supported his ideas. And they also started criticizing Indian traditions and customs. And they were willing to help Raja Ram Mohan Rai. And with the help of William Bentinck, who was the then British Governor General, Raja Ram Mohan Rai could abolish this sati. Sati was officially banned in 1829. Remember, Ram Mohan Rai, with the help of William Bentinck, who was the then British Governor General, sati was officially banned in 1829. And another Bengali reformer was Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. You might have heard the name of Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. He fought for the remarriage of widows. Once a woman becomes a widow, there is no life for her. She will have to survive under so many restrictions. Not to move out of the house, not to take a part in any public activities, or not to come in front of many people because it is inauspicious. So like that, under many restrictions, she had to lead her life, remaining life. So Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he fought for remarriage of widows, especially child widows. And finally, a law was passed allowing widow remarriages in 1855. Widow Remarriage Act was passed in 1855. And Vidyasagar, he also fought against child marriage and the practice of men marrying many girls, that is polygamy, I told you just now. Marrying more than one wife is called polygamy, and he fought against this practice also. Against polygamy also he fought against, and he was greatly involved in the movement for education of girls. He encouraged girls' education. And despite there was much opposition for the girls' education, despite these oppositions, he helped setting up schools for girls. He set up many schools for girls despite of the opposition in the society from many sides. Now we'll stop it here. I will continue in the second part.